Hello, I'm Sheila Cavanagh from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been involved in the Shakespeare in Prison Network for some time, and have been very happy to participate in the previous Shakespeare in Prison conferences. This, of course, is our first virtual conference, and as you will see in what follows, we did encounter some technical difficulties. There were some serious rain in the south of India, and that affected the recording that we got. But be aware that it's powerful material in any case. I was very fortunate in January. Emory sent me to India in order to visit two programs that do work in prisons. The first with Alokananda Roy in Kolkata, and the second with Hulugappa Kattimani in Mysore in southern India. Both programs are doing remarkable work, and I'm very grateful to be able to take advantage of this opportunity to introduce you to them and to share their work with you. I was very fortunate that Emory supported my trip to Kolkata and Mysore in January in order to visit these programs in person. Since that was not long before the lockdown, I'm more thrilled than I can say that I was able to be there in advance of the time when that would not have been possible. So we have two visitors with us today who run programs in India. And perhaps Alokananda, would you like to introduce yourself first and let people know where you are?
Yeah. I'm Alokananda Roy. I'm from Calcutta, India. And well, I have been performing on stage for the last 65 years, but my involvement with the prison inmates started 14 years back. So I call myself a lifer, imprisoned for life. So it's been a tremendous journey for me, where I have been imprisoned in love, and they're my children, and I have found my own little family there. Not a little family, it's a huge family. Sheila knows.
Yeah.
And yes, that's it. And I was so fortunate to have been invited in 2018 for the Shakespeare in Prison conference in San Diego. And it's been an experience of lifetime where I became Mama Roy. And thanks to Kurt, if he didn't come to India, and if we didn't get introduced to each other, Shakespeare in Prison for me wouldn't have happened. So I think it's divine intervention somewhere.
Well, we're delighted to have you as part of the group.
Thank you, Sheila, for having me here.
Well, thank you very much. And we have Hulugappa, who's Kattimani from Mysore, India. And I apologize for mangling your name there, from the Sankalpa Theater Program. And would you be willing to introduce yourself and to talk a little bit about what your program is?
Okay, namaskar. I'm Kattimani. I'm basically actor, and I work with prisoners since 23 years in Karnataka prisons. I'm actor and director. Totally 23 years. So many productions, so many Shakespeare plays. Work with prisoners in Karnataka.
Okay, thank you very much. Both of your programs involve a lot of breadth. They're partly about the performance, and they're partly about a number of things adding up to the performance. And maybe we can start in Mysore, but there, your the participants are engaged in a range of activities that then lead into rehearsals. Could you talk a little bit about that?
ಏನಂತೆ?
ನೀವು ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಿಸನರ್ಸ್ ನ.
ಹೌದು.
ಸೊ ಅದೆಂತದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ?
ನಾನು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯೋಗ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪೇಂಟಿಂಗು, ಕ್ಲೇ, ಫೋಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ ಗೇಮ್ಸ್, ಆ ನಂತರ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ನಂತರ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೇನೆ.
So initially he does not very directly start with practicing them, giving them a practice for the performance alone. So what he does is get into the prison, get to know them better, and then later on start with yoga, and then later go to painting, and then make them learn some folk forms, and next ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು?
ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ
painting
folk form.
Okay.
That's all.
After the folk forms, he also gets into making them read the scripts and get them thoroughly play the characters first, and then gives them practice about the performance, is what he's saying.
Very beginning, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಪ್ರಿಸನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಯಾರ ಪರಿಚಯನೇ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳು ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಅವನ ಹೆಸರೇ ಮರೆತು ಹೋಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಆ ಬೂದ್ಗುಪ್ಪ ಕೇಸ್ನವನು, ಆ ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಕೇಸ್ನವನು, ಅಥವಾ ರಾಬರಿ ಕೇಸ್ನವರು, ಈ ಥರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಫೇಶಿಯಲ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅಂಥವರನ್ನ ನಾನು ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರವರು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ನಾನು 30 ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ನ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಸೊ ಅವರ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಗೋದೇ ನಾನು ದಿನಗಟ್ಲೆ ಹವರ್ಸ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೀವು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್, ಯಾರು ನೀನು, ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದೆ, ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನ ಒಳಗಿನ ಅವನ ಇದನ್ನ ತುಮಲಗಳನ್ನ, ಅವನ ಹೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಾಗದಂತ ಟ್ರುತ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಆಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರು ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ.
So initially what happens is that people get to have an identity in the prison as somebody who has committed this particular crime. So they are identified as someone who has done this particular crime or belongs to this case. So they do not have a self identity as own. They are not recognized by each others with their own identity. So what Sir says is that he initially picks up 30 participants, and then with them he works a day long through making them realize what each others are. He first wants to make them unlearn the cliche in their mind saying that they belong to this particular case of crime, and he wants them to know about each others rather than knowing about the crime they've committed. So he wants to make them spend hours together first of all, and then introduce each other to them, and then take them into self-questioning, saying who are you, what are you doing, and what is the philosophy before you enter into the theater. What is it that you're thinking across? So he makes people think about all this through conversations between them, amongst them, and then goes to giving them a chance for practicing all of these art forms, is what he says.
And ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಆ ಜೈಲಿನ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಾಲ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಜೈಲ್ ವಾಲ್, ಆ ವಾಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ತಮ್ಮ ನೋವನ್ನ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಸಿಕ್ಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಅವ್ರದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ನೋವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಅವರವರ ಪೇನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅವರವರ ನೋವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಾಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ತನ್ನ ಸುತ್ತ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಾಲನ್ನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ತನ್ನವರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅವನ ಊರಲ್ಲೇ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವನಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಂಥವ್ರು ಯಾರು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಬಿಡೋದು. ಇದು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ನೆಪ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಪರಿಚಯ ನೆಪ. ಬಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಯಾವ ಥರದ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಈಗ ಚರ್ಚ್ ಹತ್ರ ಯೇಸುನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನದು ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಫೆಸ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಥರ ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಗೆಳೆಯನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೇಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಪೇರನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಪೇರನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎರಡನೇ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅವನು ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಮೂರನೇ ಒಂದು ಜೊತೆ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಜನರ ನೋವು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಜನರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಅಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಆ ನಂತರ ನನ್ನ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋದು.
So he believes that the high walls that's there in the prison is not only a material wall, but also is symbolically representing the way they have built around themselves after coming inside the prison. So what he says is, I just want to, instead of giving them an introduction to each other, I want to first make them think that they have to pour out everything to each others before getting into a character or getting into activities for any sort of support to the theater form. So he wants them to basically share and confess everything. Just like you go get into the church and confess in front of the Lord, or whatever you feel like, you just pour it in and then you feel better about yourself. So he wants them to first share and then unlearn whatever they have already gotten into their head, and then start afresh with the activities that he is designed for the particular play.
Okay. So, and I'd like to go to Kolkata for a moment, but I do want to follow up on one of the things that you said. When I was in Mysore, there were a couple of the alumni from the program who took me to the Mysore Palace. And while we were there, we ran into a police officer who was doing security at Mysore Palace, but she had done security at the jail. And there was all of this commotion, but she, of course, knew one of my companions as 3 murders. That was the name she knew him by. So that's exactly what you were talking about, was that they're in an environment where their own names are often not incorporated until they're in your program. But let's go to Calcutta for a few minutes. Can you describe your program, which is somewhat different, and it's got some similarities?
Yes, similarities are, changing a person's perspective, the way they think. It all comes through cultural activities, creative activities, like he just mentioned. But mine is to mainly do with dance. It's to do with rhythm and music and a lot of drama. Now, I didn't go there to either reform them, or I didn't have any plans, any theories. I knew nothing. And when I went as a woman into a man's world, totally a man's world, where 2,500 men are imprisoned, they thought I was either crazy or I had some motive, that I was there for some reason. So initially they were trying to gauge me as to who I am and why am I there. But I just told them that I will never ever ask you why you're here. Till date, I'll never ask you, because that's none of my business. I've just come to share the joy of rhythm and music. And you'll see that when you dance, you will feel good. You can never be happy here. But rhythm and music can actually make you feel good for that moment. And when I gradually, I don't know if it happens in Mysore, but usually the prisoners all over, wherever I have been able to go, they're not allowed to come out and perform. Neither in the city auditoriums leave alone traveling across the country. So the moment they came out and they had a public performance and they got a standing ovation, they started feeling that, yes, they were being punished for the wrong they have done, but they were also being appreciated for something good they were doing. Nobody wants to be bad if they're accepted as normal human beings. We all make mistakes, don't we? But we are not punished because we are not punishable by law, our mistakes. But they are punished because their mistakes are punishable by law. But we all make mistakes in some form or the other. But once you're in there, like Sir said, that you're stigmatized for life. Even when you come out, you're stigmatized. So, and with this dance and music, you see, I just channelized their energy, the unused youthful energy of boys and girls. But I also always say that even sports, they have sports. They play football and cricket. That takes care of their energy as well. But there is an element of aggression, an element of competitiveness. But in dance, when they're doing something together, like any creative art form, they have a common goal kind of to achieve, that to give our best. And when they know that they are performing outside, every performance of theirs is like an exam for them. And they come out successful, victorious. Yes, Sheila, you have seen how they're applauded. And if then the police who are there, who don't know them, the local police, when they come out, they clap for them and they pat them. And, that is it. I mean, they had lost their dignity, their self-respect, trust of people completely. Everybody does when you enter through that gate. But when you get it back, you'll never want to lose it again. So believe me, I trust them more than I trust many people outside, because
And
they will never be. Yeah.
That's a nice segue, because one of the things that I wanted to talk to both of you about, so we'll start with you, Mama Roy, and then go back to Mysore. Unlike many places, both of you are able to take your participants, your actors, your dancers, and perform outside of the prison. And in some instances, they've received furloughs even to go home and visit their families, or they've gotten pardons or things. And for obvious reasons, the press regularly wants to know, since they're out there comparatively free, why don't they run away? And you both have lovely responses from your participants. So if we could start with the Kolkata participants and then Mysore, and why do they stay when they have an opportunity? They could just bolt.
As I said, firstly, they always tell me, especially when we are traveling by train for 2 nights, they can easily get off and run away in one of the stations, but they will not. Firstly, they will never let me down, because they're never going to betray my trust. They tell me, they've often told me that, they call me Ma. It says that, Ma, you have given us a new life. And do you think we'll ever let you down? Because if we do something wrong, the fingers will point at you. And we can never do that. You see, that is transformation. And I think I call it, it is like they have taught others what trust is all about. When they got it back, they'll never lose it. And how will they live if they run away? They can't go back to their families. They'll have to be in hiding all their life. Do they want that? You know, this time for pandemic, I don't know about Mysore, but they were given 5 months parole. 5 months. They just returned. One of them even went home and got married. And he's a lifer. Maybe, Sheila, I'll send you the pictures of his wedding, which he sent me.
Please do.
I said, does she know? He says, yeah, she does. I said, brave girl. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that they have the respect of people, which they had lost. If they run away, it's going to be deja vu, and they will have to be on the run all their life, and they'll never have a normal life again. This way, at least they may be pardoned, and they're going home twice a year. They go for 15 days, twice a year, unescorted, and they come back because they know they'll go again.
Thank you. And in Mysore, I know that question has come up many times as well.
Yes. In 2006, ನಾನು ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಕಾರ್ನಾಡ್ರ ಶೇಕ್ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಬೆತ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆ ನಾಟಕ ಮಹಾಮಸ್ತಕಾಭಿಷೇಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಶೋ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಆಗ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಅದು ಓಪನ್ ಏರ್ ಥಿಯೇಟ್ರು, ಓಪನ್ ಏರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜು. ಓಪನ್ ಏರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಜೆಗೆ ನಾಟಕ ಇದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾರು ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋದರೂ ನಾವು ಶೋ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ನಾವು ಒಂದು 250 ಶೋಸ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ನಾವು ಶೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಊರಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದೇವರ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವರ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಇದು. ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಮಸ್ತಕಾಭಿಷೇಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಗೊಮ್ಮಟನನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಕೊಡಿಸಿ ಹೇಗಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೋರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಇದು ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ, ಏನಾಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೇಡಿ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು, ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋವಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ಲೇಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವರು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದ್ ಮೇಲಿನ ನಂಬಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ADGP ಅಥಾರಿಟಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ಈಗ ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮಸ್ತಕಾಭಿಷೇಕ ಗೊಮ್ಮಟನ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ತುಂಬಾ ರಶ್ ಇದೆ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂದಾಗ ಅವರು ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾನು ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಓಕೆ ನಾನಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. 30 ಜನ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ಹತ್ತುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಮೆಟ್ಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಲಿಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಖಾಲಿ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇಡಬೇಕು, ಅಷ್ಟು ರಶ್ ಇದೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮೈ ಮೇಲೆ, ಇನ್ನು ಯಾವುದೇ ತರದ ಬೇಡಿಗಿಡಿ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹತ್ತಿತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪೊಲೀಸರು ಸಹಿತ ಅವರು ಸಹಿತ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಉತ್ಸಾಹ ಅಂತಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇವ್ರಿಗಾಗ್ಲೇ ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಕೆಲವರು ತುದಿಗೆ ಒಬ್ರು, ಅಲ್ಲೊಬ್ರು, ಇಲ್ಲೊಬ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರಿಸ್ನರು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಮಗುನ ತನ್ನ ಹೆಗಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹತ್ತುತ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ನನಗನ್ಸ್ತು, ಬೆಟ್ಟ ಹತ್ತಿದವರು ಹಾಗೆ ಇಳಿದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮುಗೀತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಅಂತರುವಾಗ. ಯಾಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗಿತ್ತದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ 23 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಈ ತರದ ಒಂದು ಕೇಸ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಏನಾರು ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬತ್ತಳಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಅಸ್ತ್ರ, ಒಂದೇ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಇರೋದು ಒಂದೇ, ಅದು ಟ್ರೂತ್, ಅದು ಸತ್ಯ. ಅದಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗೋದು. ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಸುಮಾರು 1-2 ಅವರ್ಸ್ ನಂತರ ಬೆಟ್ಟದಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇಳಿದು ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಪಾದದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಳ್ಳೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಕ್ಲಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಕರೆದು, ಬನ್ನಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ತಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಲೆಕ್ಕ, ಹೆಡ್ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ತಲೆ ಎಣಿಸಿ ಅಂತ. ಆ ನಂತರ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರಶ್ನವರೊಬ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದರು, ಎಂತ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇತ್ತು, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹತ್ತಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಹತ್ತಿದವರು ಇಳಿದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅದಕ್ಕೊಬ್ಬ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಎಂಥ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು, ನಾನೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಸಂಜೆ ಆ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನ, ನನ್ನ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನ ಯಾರ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್. ಅದು ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ಗಿರುವ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆದಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ.
So he narrates a beautiful instance to us, which happened when usually conducted a huge fest in Karnataka, and they have done almost 250 shows outside the prison till now. And one such shows was organized for Shakespeare's Macbeth recently. And when this happened, all of them pleaded them, wherever they go actually to perform, they plead Sir to take them to a temple in order to confess and take blessings of the god to get released as early as possible. So likewise, when they went to this particular place, they requested him to take them to a place, a hilltop. So Sir,
Bahubali.
Yeah, it's a idol called Bahubali. Requested him to take them to the hilltop. And when he asked the authorities, they said, if you are there accompanying with them, we'll send you. So he asked them to go, and some of them were so enthusiastic that they reached the top before Sir did. And yeah, without any sort of restrictions or any police guarding them. So they were free to go, and they went that side. And by 2 hours, they were all back into the form, back to the foothill of the place. And then they called everybody with their sign languages, with the either claps or whistles, and then gathered back there. And all of them said, now you properly take our counts. We are all here. None of us are missing.
Count the heads.
Yeah, count the number of heads here. None missing. And after this instance, one of the news reporter asked them, you had a wonderful chance to run away, elope, and nobody would have known where you were going.
Off the top.
So yeah, from the hilltop, you could have run away anywhere. Why didn't you? So it was a beautiful chance. So it seems one of them got up and answered the media press man, saying that, what is the question that you are asking? In case we do that, then who would do my character in the evening that we are going to perform today? So I can't betray theatre. I can't do injustice to my character. So I am supposed to be there playing my character and getting the applause. I have to be there, he said, it seems.
That is theatre.
Yeah, so he's saying that is the power of theatre.
Power of theatre. And ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬೇಡಿ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಶೋ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಹಾಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್, ಅಷ್ಟು ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಪೊಲೀಸರಿಗಾಗಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿ.
Yeah, so he's saying along with the prisoners, while they go to the court, the police actually take them with imprisoned equipments. But then while they are taken to this play, with the locks, they are taken with the locks to the court. But while they are taken for this play, even the police have had a transition along with the inmates, is what he's saying. Because inmates anyway won't run away, is the trust that police have on the inmates. So police have also transitioned and also transformed, saying that we have to live on trust.
Reformation, not only inmates, police also reformated.
And
changes in policemen.
That leads really well into my next question, and we'll start with Mama Roy, and then we'll return to Sankalpa. But one of the things that I think is really important is the relationship with the prison authorities and with other local authorities. And what support have you gotten, Mama Roy? Where have they gotten in your way? And what do they see as the benefits and disadvantages of your program?
Well, initially, there were some hiccups. Right? Because the warders, especially, they really didn't want this to happen. They didn't want this to happen because there were girls and boys dancing together in the prison, So dance is always the stepchild of performing arts, I always say. In India, there was a time when women were not allowed to dance. They were, even now, you can learn music, you can paint, but you can't dance. So it is still there. It's still there. So there were instances, but I hung on. I hung on because I believed in this a movement. And I always say that if I believe in something, nobody can stop me. I'll go right up to the top. I went to the minister, Mr. B.D. Sharma, the former IG prison. He supported me completely. And if I believe in something, nobody can stop me. And if I don't believe in something, nobody can make me do it. So I believed in it. And, there will be obstacles. Anything you do if something is happening for the first time, there will be obstacles. But if you consider that obstacle an obstacle, then it becomes an obstacle. If you think it's a part of the journey, then it's a part of the journey. And yes, we have overcome. And I had all my boys and girls and a part of the authorities who have always been with me over time. But yes, you can't have everything served on a platter, especially when you're working in the prison. It's a different world altogether. So when they come out for a performance, my boys and girls are treated very differently. They have a different stature in the prison. So everybody wants to come into the team now because they will get certain facilities. Their wards are never, ever searched. That's the kind of trust the authorities have on them, because they know if they do anything wrong, I'll have him out from the team. So there are so many stories. Like once our stage caught fire while we were performing, and it was my boys who went and brought it down. And I was standing on the stage, the whole audience watching. I didn't pull the curtain down, and the U.S. Consul General was also sitting there. Even she didn't move, right? After putting out the fire, the next, he had blisters. Some of them had blisters on their feet. Not a single person moved other than them. And they were only taking pictures for the media. It's a sensational story. So the next day I went and I said, "Did you get hurt?" And he had blisters on his hands. You know what he told me, one of them? He says that, "Ma, we were determined that if it doesn't go out, if we cannot douse the fire, we will die there." Because we wanted to prove that just as we had taken somebody's life, we can also save lives. So, I was very, very moved, that this is what has made them. And I'm, sir, I have to tell you that you're very lucky that your boys and girls, they wanted to go to a temple. My boys and girls, when they go to Bangalore or to Mumbai and Delhi, they only want to go sightseeing and shopping. They go to the sea beaches and they want to go see places, have ice creams and shop. I have to tell them this is a lesson you have to learn, that you also need to go to a temple to be with the divine, not just go shopping next time.
Oh dear.
So I think the words.
Well, one of the things I was thinking when you were telling the story about the stage catching on fire, which is a story I hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
At one point, with in a rehearsal for a performance of King Lear in Mysore, the actor playing Lear was apparently not sufficiently in character. And so our director threw a bucket of water on him so that he could imagine that he was on the heath. So perhaps what we need to do is have you two perform together so they can bring the buckets of water to
the bar and the wet.
So have we lost our Mysore contingent?
We're working to get them back.
Okay, thank you. Well, while we are waiting, one of the things that I was going to ask both of you, and we'll get back and ask that question there, but how do you choose what you are going to perform with your group in Kolkata? And how do the different parts get allocated?
Well, I try to have not too many characters, because I have, they're good with movements, but not many of them. They don't want to act. They just want to move with rhythm and music, right? So I choose plays which always has a message. The one you saw was a transformation of a dacoit, a robber, into a saint. Then I did on the life of Jesus Christ. Then I did one on communal harmony. And the last one was on Emperor Ashoka. That was again transformation, because this treacherous king who finally renounces everything and becomes a Buddhist. And so, while they are rehearsing, while they're going through the process of the music, of, every day they're having to hear and go through the same thing. And it does act on their mind unconsciously. I've never pushed anything into them, never. I tell them stories. And I tell them that, freedom, do you think when you go out of the prison, you're free? We are free? No, we are not. We are all imprisoned in some form or the other. You're only free when your spirit is free. Then you'll find freedom everywhere. So just go into yourself and ask yourself, like there has never been any confession as such, but sometimes they come and tell me that, today we think differently, we feel different, and we never want to be bad again. We just want to have a nice, peaceful life. We just want to get out of this place as soon as possible, so that we can be with our families. And more than 200 boys and girls, mainly boys, have been released since I started this journey. That many have come in. They call it the dialysis machine, and that the impure blood comes and gets purified and they leave. They have been released. Touch wood, not one of them have gone back to the dark world. And I have had numerous murderers in my team, and not even one. In fact, only the other day they had come to me. I'm trying to rehabilitate them. Now I can't go inside. So I've managed to get them to start tea business. And yes, 5 of them are doing that. They've just started. The one who stitched all the costumes, the one you've seen, I have started a little tailoring unit for him through a friend, and he's doing well. So, they just need a little support when they are released, because initially nobody will employ them. That's the thing.
That's one of the things that I've noticed in both programs, is that they're involved with costuming and sets and music and all of that, so that it really is an all-encompassing production in many ways. But one of the other things that I noticed in terms of all encompassing, that's true in both locations, is the involvement with the person inside the facility and after they leave. And certainly in your program, you have done a lot for the families. Can you talk a little bit about the programs that you have instituted to help the families of those who are incarcerated?
Mainly the children. You know, like, as I always say, that they have not wronged, but they are also ostracized by the society. I have faced it with them. Some of the schools refused to take them, not the school, but the parents of the other children. They didn't want them, their children, to be with these kids. And I think we are so wrong. So I had put them into Don Bosco, a boarding school in West Bengal. And the last boy passed out. I had taken charge of 11 boys. So he just passed out this year. Now, the other thing that I am doing now is I've just started with the juvenile offenders. They are a different story altogether. You know, many boys are trafficked, as many as girls, but we don't know much about them. It's mainly, we know about the girl child getting trafficked, but because boys don't cry, they don't talk, and they don't express themselves. So they are into drug peddling. Little boys, even 8-year-old, 10-year-old boys are into murder. So now I'm working on them. Of course, now it's stalled for the time being. And they're also into prostitution, these boys. I will just narrate a little story about one of the boys. You see, I had this reservation about rapists. I'll be very honest with you. There was something that I had a mind block. Now it's all gone. But initially when I went, I had it. Now, one day I was auditioning some of the boys, when one boy who knew about my reservation was whispering into my ears, Ma, that's a rape case. That's a rape case, which means I shouldn't take him. I felt very bad. He was standing right in front of me. Okay, I'll talk to him. So I took him aside and I said, did you hear what he said about you? He said, yes. I said, is it true? He said, yes. So I said, why do you do it? Don't you despise yourself afterwards? Don't you hate yourself afterwards? Because cowards do something like that. So he listened to me and then he said, Ma, can I ask you a question? I said, yes. He said, you're mother to everybody. I said, yes, I am. He says that, did anybody ever ask me what was done to me when I was small? So I said, would you like to tell me? He says, no, Ma, I can't tell you. It shook me. You know, that's no excuse, but all those negativities, all that is bottled up inside may come out in a very different way, in a negative way when they grow up. So now I want to go to the root and start with the juvenile offenders. And yes, I know somewhere, even if it helps 2% of the whole crowd, I think the seed will be sown. And I'm determined to do it.
Hopefully we will get the connection back. But I'll go ahead with a question that I'm going to ask both of you and ask Mama Roy first, which is, what is the greatest personal gift that you receive from doing your work with the incarcerated population?
The love, unconditional love. That's the gift. I have learned to be non-judgmental, and I have learned to forgive unconditionally. All that has happened through this journey. And I think I didn't, it happened very naturally. And I don't give credit to myself. it's my boys and girls who have made this happen. That's the biggest gift. And that they still keep in touch with me even when they are released. That is another gift, that they have considered me as their mother. I sometimes used to say that, I'm your mother here. I'm the jail mother. You have your own mothers at home. He says, please don't say that. You have given us a second life. So you're a mother too. And you're there for life.
Thank you. That's lovely. While we're waiting, the question I was going to ask you before is that I know that you have a lot of your performers who come from Purulia, which is a rural area in West Bengal. Yeah. It's a tribal region, an agricultural region. And I was struck by the way that you brought their arts traditions into your practice. Yes. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how important you think that is in order to bring something from their home territory into their performances.
See, I had seen their performance in their local jail when I had gone there. And as I said, Mr. Sharma, the former IG, was very supportive, and I wanted them over. I didn't even know how I was going to incorporate, but I just wanted them. So some of them came willingly and they stayed on. Now, what I felt was, you see, I have been greatly influenced by Tagore. And he was always experimenting. He was far ahead of his time. So he would incorporate different dance styles, costumes, art, music, wherever he traveled. You see, he brought in elements of that and created something which was so unique. So maybe that was the influence that was working on my mind. And never before has a Tagore's dance drama had these chow dancers, the mass dancers that you're talking about. So, but it blended so well. And when I thought of using them, I said, I have to use all kinds of dance forms because I was dealing with all non-dancers. Nobody could dance. They have never danced before. Till date, 100% non-dancers. But their dedication and their love for it, and that something within them changed. And that is what created what. See, now, not only the chow dancers, those tribal dancers from the local region are doing chow. They have taught these local boys. And now they also perform. It is not just the chow dancers who are doing it. And I did not teach because I don't know chow. I choreograph, but I don't know chow. But it's those chow dancers who taught these other non-dancers chow. And what you saw that day, there were some of them who were not from that region. They're not chow dancers originally. So I think bringing all different kinds of movements, styles, is what makes a dance drama come alive, and it makes it interesting also, instead of sticking to one particular style. And they enjoy it as well. It is all about, you see, I never went there. I never with the idea that they'll ever have a performance, even within the jail premises, leave alone outside. So what I went there was to make them feel good, the joy of rhythm. I keep telling that the rhythm they had lost in life came back through dance. So that's what I went for. And it worked like magic, and the rest is history.
That is wonderful. And one of the questions that Mama Roy has answered, and I wonder if we could hear, Kalpa, but I guess not at the moment. Can you talk a little bit, Mama Roy? You mentioned this. You were talking to Kurt Tofflin a little bit before we began. Could you talk a little bit about the joint production that you're working on with?
Oh, yes,
Kurt's
I'd love to.
incarcerated?
Well, I was keeping quiet because till it happens. And, during this time, I completed it just, I think, 2 months before lockdown happened, the pandemic happened. So it's the work is complete, but the editing is still left to be done. It's because, when I know that they can't come to your country, or nor can the performers from the US can come to India or any other country. So I thought, to put them together, this was the only way out. So I have videographed that nightmare scene over there through dance. So it could be incorporated in the backdrop whenever they perform, whenever they have the play, during the nightmare can be on the screen behind. So, and that is by the inmates of Indian Correctional Home. So I think putting it together, this was the only way I could think of. And I'm very excited. I'm waiting for that to happen. And it'll happen soon. Once we are allowed to enter, of course, the editing I will be doing outside, not within the prison walls. But that will be ready. But God has to be able to go into the prison again
Exactly.
to have the play there. Yeah. They are not allowed to come out, right?
Yeah.
In
Not
the US,
not in the same way that they can in
Yeah.
India. But
India, not everywhere. Not everywhere. It's in West Bengal and in Karnataka. I don't
yes.
think they come out anywhere else.
Is there anything, Mama Roy, that you would like to include that we have not discussed?
Well, I think we have spoken all about it, but it's again, I think they have come back, so they can talk. Anyway, so I think what we need to actually think about is now the ones who are released. They must be given that second chance. Otherwise, they will have to go back to the dark world if they're not employed or if they're not given an opportunity to come back. And as I was saying, that those little boys in the prison, the juveniles, we just have to think of doing something for them. Maybe theater, dance, and eventually education, because they're not taken back to school. The friends don't mix with them. Sometimes the parents don't want to accept them, and they go back to crime. So they are repeat offenders. Now we have to start from the root to nip the bud so that we don't breed more criminals, so that they can have their music and dance and everything when they're young, so that they don't really have to go into a prison to do that. We will all work outside as well for the released prisoners, in theater, in dance, in music, in art. Maybe later I will send you fabulous pictures of the idols that one of the boys make. He's in the open jail. We could try something with theater and dance and music in the open jail as well, because they are free to move out. I don't know if I'm sure you have something like that in the US, where they have to work for their living. They're released at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they have to come back at 8 o'clock in the evening, but they have to fend for themselves. So we could tap that area also together.
Well, I thank you so much. It has been such a delight to, even despite any technical problems, to be able to introduce the the programs in Kolkata, the program in Mysore, however much we would have liked to have met in person, I think it's a wonderful bonus that we will be able to present this spectacular work to a broader audience than who might have been able to travel if travel had been possible. But thank you all so much for your involvement. And thank you again for being a wonderful host in Calcutta. That was a spectacular trip.
Let's repeat. You can come
Absolutely.
again and you can be with me, stay with me. And we can have a wonderful time. I told Kurt also, my daddy, I call him daddy. So daddy and Michelle, all of you come together and I think we'll have a great time.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the technical people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.